All right, it is 1 o'clock, so we are going to get started here. My name is Abby Almerito, and my colleague is,
And I'm Jenna Picata.
and we're from the Santa Clara County Office of Ed, part of the Educational Technology Services team. And this is our very first webinar, vlog. I don't know, we've been calling it lots of different things on distance learning because we are in a brand new world, everyone. And we thought, what's the first thing you have to do? So all of us are in this new space, so we should think about what that new space looks like through creating a schedule. And we are very, very lucky today to have a guest with us. But first, okay, so thank you, Jenna. Welcome, everyone. Here's a little bit about our process. We are very excited to be doing this live stream with you. Our process is we're going to share 3 tips on the topic. And after each tip, we invite you to engage in a reflection question that will be on one of the slides that we're going to give you. And then we'll invite you to either participate through the chat or unmute yourself and join verbally. But as I said, we have a very special guest today, longtime friend of Santa Clara County Office of Ed and former colleague, forever family member, Elizabeth Brumbaugh. She is let me see if I got this right, Learning, Innovation, and Design Director for preschool through 12th grade at the Harker School in San Jose. And she's one of the first people that I saw post a schedule for her family. And she's here today to share a little bit insight of that process. So welcome, Liz.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, you got the title right. It's a mouthful. And I'm just excited to be here. There it is.
There's Liz and her family. Kyle, she shared, is still working. And that's Jackson. You'll probably hear him in the background. But Liz, how did you even get started with this?
So, like almost everything in educational technology, I got it from somebody else. Not this specific schedule, but a good friend of mine, Lainey Rowell, in Southern California, had posted something, now she was formerly a classroom educator and administrator, and I had built some curriculum with her in previous positions I've had. And so we're Facebook friends, and she had posted a schedule for her kids. And she now is, I believe, a consultant with Orange County Office of Ed. And so, so I took what she had, and I recognized really early on that 2 things. One, there's still an expectation that I'm going to be working full time. And my husband does very similar work as I do, working remotely. And so, so my first thought was none of her schedule actually included what she would be doing. And for me, I rely so heavily on my calendar during my regular workday. I was like, I need to know what I'm doing. And I need to know how that plays in with Jackson's schedule. And so I think first my head was wrapped around keeping a schedule so that there was some sense of normalcy. Jackson is 3 years old. He's in preschool, and they do have a schedule. But like many preschools, they're still open, but they had so few students there. I did take him in on Monday morning. Friday was our first day off. And it was a teacher work day to get them prepped and set up. And then Monday was the first day of instruction for our teachers of remote learning. And so So in creating the schedule, I had to blend kind of all three of our calendars. The things that I knew about my calendar is that I would always have at least an 8:30 to 9 o'clock meeting. And that was scheduled every day with the administration team. And I knew I was always going to have a 3:30 to 4 meeting with my particular set of directors at Harker as well. So I kind of started with those two things. That's what I knew. I also knew that I didn't know anything about Kyle's schedule at the time. And so we had to leave that open, which you'll see in here that I have like Kyle matched up with Jackson on certain things. And I told him, I was like, well, you're just going to get plugged into these places where I need to be on video conference, and his exposure to that video conference needs to be limited. And so I wanted to give Jackson, he needs lots of time to be outside, both in the morning and in the afternoon. He really needs his nap. And so a lot of it was driven by Jackson's schedule. So wanted to make sure that we were still getting up at a regular time. I think having the yoga for him first thing in the morning has been really helpful the last 2 days. It gives him some sort of regularity of like, this is what we do right after breakfast. And then Kyle has been going to work, but he's actually leaving for work at like 6:30. And then Jackson's been starting a little bit earlier than this schedule shows. So I Zoom with the Harker team from 8:30 to 9, but like this morning, that meeting ended up going until 10:30. And then there was a splinter off of that meeting that went until 12:15. So this schedule today is a joke. To be totally honest, like yesterday we kept to it really pretty nicely. And instead of Kyle and Jackson watching Sesame Street from 8:30 to 9, Jackson just watched Sesame Street. And then at 9 o'clock, I took a walk with him on his scooter around the block. We got back, and then he did do some drawing and coloring, and I was able to be available for office hours. Then he did some Osmo. Like yesterday, we really pretty nicely stuck to the timeline. And then, yeah, and then we have lunch, and it's lunch prep and eating. And then the settling him down for a nap. He is not taking a nap right now because he hasn't had a lot of outside because of my meetings. He's on his third Disney movie right now. I'm not proud, but it is what I have to do. And that's part of that, like just getting used to, there's no other way to do this right now. I can't set him in front of a coloring book and he'll be happy for half an hour or an hour. Like he'll be happy maybe for 20 minutes, but then he's going to find something else. So, I have to be okay that the living room is upside down. I have to be okay that he is trying to put things in his mouth that I don't want him putting in his mouth right now. And thankfully, I've got people who are on the other side of these video conferences that are understanding of that. And in the scheme of things, I only have one. And I've got colleagues and friends who have 2 or 3 kids that are under 5 and also trying to teach their classes. And that's the thing that I'm like, I don't know how that's happening. So this is a good thing to come, and consistency, and also recognize that it's beyond just being flexible with it. It's about deciding that at the end of all of this, Jackson's gonna know. I want him to feel like this time together was filled with fun and love and maybe some learning. But I don't want him to feel the same anxiety and stress that I am feeling, or that some of my colleagues are definitely feeling. And so, so I keep having to, I just keep trying to remind myself of that every time I'm like, we're not on schedule. He's, you know, upside down. He's whatever. He's, as long as he's safe and he's fed, even if he ate 6 string cheeses this morning alone, then it's going to be okay, because we're at least still healthy and okay. And so I keep trying to like keep that perspective. I love the schedule. I mean, the schedule is good, and it's kind of like the centerpiece that I can keep going back to.
Yeah, thank you so much for your perspective. If I could summarize, so number 1 key that I'm getting from you is start with what you know, the pieces that you know. Number 2, think about the individual needs. And for you, the individual needs are for Jackson mostly, but when you are thinking of your own needs, think about like, what do you need to thrive in this space? And then 3, to keep things as regular as possible. Maybe there's some cognates, but as regular as possible. And then lastly, keep things as fluid as possible in creating your schedule. Yeah. So
and don't forget, I mean, I think it really can't be emphasized enough. You can't, I say this to teachers and anyone who will listen, but you can't deal with blooms until you've dealt with Maslow's, right? And so Humpty Dumpty fell, yes. And so so I think remembering to drink water, remembering to eat, remembering to move, remembering to step away from the screen, to stretch, those are pieces that are imperative.
Well, I hear that you have another meeting scheduled with Jackson right now. So I want to thank you so much for giving your perspective and sharing your schedule. And I know we will connect soon.
Yes, thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so with that, we are going to go into our 3 tips for creating a schedule. And I know that Liz had touched upon some of these things, so we can just continue. And then after each tip, we're going to open it up to have a conversation with each one of you. So tip number 1 is, what goes in a schedule anyway? And
so we came up with some of these tips just based on the schedules that we've been seeing, and then both of us have created schedules for ourselves. So the first part is like thinking about space and time. So as we are doing now, we are engaging a lot on Zoom. And so the people in your space may be conducive to that, or may need to go find another space for a little while. So I know my fiance and I were both on Zooms at different times. And so we've actually created a schedule of when that's happening, so we can be mindful of who's taking up the best space for Zoom in our small apartment, and when the other person needs to skedoodle a little bit.
Yeah, so, and for me, I'm at home and my husband's here also. We were both in separate rooms, and it's nice, and because I get my own space and he gets to leave me alone, and he's in the kitchen with the dogs. And so I actually haven't, it's only the second day, I haven't really completed my whole schedule with him, but that is definitely something to come, because if we're going to be here for a while, that's something that I really want to start thinking about.
Jenna, you had mentioned yesterday about an article or a news report that you saw about limited devices. So that's another piece.
Oh yeah. So I did. I was watching something on TV about the coronavirus, and they were showing a family of 6, and there were 6 children in the family, and they only had 2 devices. So also, you know, being mindful if we're connecting with students at home, that their schedule might look very different, and their access to the internet, access to technology might be very limited. So being very mindful about that.
And so the second piece that we're talking about is balancing digital and non-digital times in our day. And this is especially important when we're trying to consider what the day of our students looks like as well, so that we can advise them of, you know, you should schedule some time in your day when you go take a walk, or you play with toys, or you're outside, you're doing things that are not based in the digital world.
Yeah, so one thing that I miss the most is going to the gym and going to my UGEM classes. But in this time, you'd be really surprised to see what's out there. So last night I just went onto Facebook and I went to the Bay Area UGEM page, and they're doing live streaming of UGEM classes. So you can find some really creative ways to connect and do some of those things that you normally would do, you know, if you could go out and go to the gym. And
I saw a funny post on Facebook the other day of all the things that you can do now that we all have this time that we're sheltering in place. And it was things like spring cleaning, or you know, cleaning out your desk, or throwing away all of the Tupperware that might be too dirty to use anymore, or all these things that we've put off because we've got other things to do. So I would consider that as well, putting into your schedule. Like, what are those things that you've been avoiding for a while that you now have the space and time possibly to do?
yeah. And think about those things, those passion projects that you've always wanted to work on. I was sharing with Abby yesterday. Well, actually, the two of us have been taking this makerspace class over at Foothill College, and I've just been so inspired by it that I had ordered a Cricut maker, and it's actually coming in today. I was hoping it would be in already so that I could show you my brand new Cricut maker, but it's coming in today, and now I have all of these ideas of things that I want to design and create with it. Now that I have the time at home, it's definitely something that I'm also going to think about putting into my schedule.
Yeah, I have to think about what's my next crafting project or my next thing that I want to tackle. But the last piece about what goes in a schedule is certainly a piece on self-care. I think Liz touched on it. All of the schedules that we've seen out there have some piece about taking care of yourself. So make sure that you're eating, make sure that you, I put in my schedule meditation. So I've been meditating 100% of the time, 100% of the days that we've been on shelter in place, which is 100% better than I've been doing before. So think about putting intention into what you're scheduling as well.
Yes, that is definitely important. I mean, you know, we do have a resource page for this, and we're gonna share that link with you. But you know, when we open this up, we are definitely open to any resources that you guys have for self-care and some ideas, because we're definitely going to be needing it. And actually, right before this meeting, I just ended a Toastmasters meeting. So we normally meet at the county office, but this was actually our first virtual meeting. And I just have to say that just connecting with those people that we regularly connect with, it was just nice to see everybody's face, to hear everybody's voices, and just to be together in a virtual space, since we're all in this situation together.
Yeah, so now we'd love to hear from the people who have joined us today. Thank you, by the way, for clicking on that link. But some food for thought. What's something you've been putting off doing that you could add into your schedule while we're in shelter in place? You can unmute yourself or add a note in the chat if you'd like to participate.
Hi, ladies. One thing I was thinking about, and it's not something that I'm going to add to my schedule, but I think that for me is really important, is to try to have some consistency. So even though I'm not setting my alarm in the morning, when I get up, I still go through this kind of the same routines I would if I was going to work in the morning. Just sort of keeping up, you know, a little bit of sense of normalcy before the day gets started. So I just thought I'd throw that in.
Yeah, I love that. It could be very easily, you could turn your life easily into pajama day every single day.
Exactly. Yeah. Getting up, you know, get those teeth brushed, you know, making the coffee. You know, the cat appreciates it greatly if I keep my, you know, regular schedule going. So, you know, and I think maybe for families too, and, you know, I'd love to have somebody else to chime in on that, but how that kind of a little bit of normalcy is just good for everybody because it is such a trying period in our lives right now.
This is Jen, so I'm gonna second what Karen said. I keep a pretty good routine. I wake up the normal time, maybe a tiny bit later, but and I take my dog for a walk, so that's every day, and that's now twice a day, and maybe 3 times depending on how we're feeling. And then something I want to try, which I've put it off because I bought this kit a while ago, but you guys heard of Blueprint? They sent you craft kits and stuff. So I want to try my hand at embroidery. So I might try to fit that into my schedule somehow. So
yeah, you may soon see an embroidery webinar from Jen Much of the Santa Clara County.
I don't know about that. Maybe knitting or crocheting, but not.
Yeah, there we go. We could team up on crocheting. Let's do that.
So some things that I'm seeing in the chat, some people are definitely into like, let's clean things out. There's some opportunity to Marie Kondo your teaching cabinets too. Some meditations happening, yoga materials. There's some great yoga videos that I've been seeing populating that are totally free, which is exciting. I have not done yoga by myself yet here, so maybe that could be something I can add for the weekend project.
I think exercise is super important. You know, we're not running up and down those stairs 3 or 4 times like we usually are every day. So just taking that little bit of time to either take a walk or jump on the stationary bike, or, you know, 20 minutes of just really dedicated exercise time, whether it or yoga. I think it's going to be really important for all of us.
Yeah, and as Jenna said, if you are a part of a gym already, I would check in to see what free services, or not free, you're still paying, but services that they have that you can do remotely. My gym, 9 Rounds, has always put out the workouts online, so I know that they've adapted the workouts so that you can do it at home without any weights, just a little bit of space. I know 24 Hour Fitness, they have their premium online service that they're opening up to all its members. And my aunt, she is 60, let me do the math. She was born in 52. So she is going to turn 68 this year, and she's a CrossFit junkie, and she's doing CrossFit at home through their virtual space. So awesome. Okay, thank you for participating. On to our second tip. File, make a copy. You want to take this, Jenna?
Well, sure. We can start with there are a lot of schedules that are already out there. So, you know, if you see something, just take what's already out there and go ahead and adapt it for yourself. And so the first thing that we have on here is Khan Academy schedules. So I'm not sure if you've seen this one already, but if you go to Khan Academy, the very top link that is on their page links to resources for responding to COVID-19. And one of the things is a schedule for students. So if you're a parent at home and you need to help make a schedule for your child in terms of learning, then there's some great schedules for preschool all the way up to high school, I think. Let's see. So this is full of lots of great resources. Khan Academy just has all these learning videos and in all content areas. And they have their Khan Academy Kids app where students, I believe 2 to 5, there are a lot of reading resources for them. And you can find some reading lists and lots of other things on this. So this is a nice resource to have. And then I know Liz had talked about family schedules, and she shared how she sets up her family schedule. So we have one here. Actually, there's a screenshot of it right here. So if you find one, you can copy one that exists and then make it for yourself.
Yeah, this is the one actually she talked about, Lainey Rowell, I forget her last name, that she copied. So even if you're not file make a copy exactly, but you can get some great ideas. I like that. I just noticed quiet time here. I think we need some quiet time. Sometimes I need to take a step away from the laptop for a good solid 15 minutes, 30 minutes to do something else. But file make a copy is an excellent tip for the rest of your digital or distance learning journey also. There are a ton of resources which we look forward to sharing in the upcoming webinars that we encourage you in this high stress time to just file, make a copy, make things as streamlined and as easy as possible for you and your family. The last part of file make a copy here is office hours. So this is a big tip that we're at the county office still trying to organize, but is a good tip for educators as well to put into their schedules, is just open office hours for your students to know and your families to know when they can reach you and connect with you, because we know that there are students out there who are really do miss connecting with the people they've been spending the majority of their days with for the last 100+ school days. So having that open office hours, I think, is a good source of comfort. And our next food for thought. So in this new way of living, what other life hacks or tips have you used to make this new normal of a life more livable?
I think, this is Jen again. I think we have to make sure we get outside because I think some people could feel like they just need to stay inside the whole time. And getting outside is fine. Remember, we just have to keep our social distance, but that's been helping me a lot.
So not really a life hack, but a practice that I'm trying to put into place these upcoming weeks is to make sure that I visit small businesses that are in our area that I appreciate and want to keep in my life, because I know that the small businesses are probably getting hit pretty hard right now. So if I can make it out there, buy a gift card or take out lunch and still feel safe, then I'm trying to put that into my schedule and my practice. You see someone adding the chat. Dress in regular clothes. Yeah. So I'm trying to also avoid dressing down too much. Trying to keep my regular schedule and my regular practices and routines going. What about you, Jenna?
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to keep my normal schedule, and I'm actually feeling like I feel busier than ever right now. Maybe it's because we've been just planning for these webinars, but I I think I really appreciate most just connecting, finding ways to connect with other people. And now I'm thinking that I should, schedule check-ins with friends, because I was talking to my husband this morning, like, if I don't know what it would be like for me if I were living alone, by myself. So I'm trying to think about, making time for connection with all my friends and family.
I did see, especially, I think it was yesterday, was that St. Patrick's Day, a lot of people doing Zoom parties. So people like taking a toast, or something I saw today was a Netflix Zoom party. People watching the same thing at the same time to keep community.
I just saw that. I was just going to say that. It's a Chrome extension that you can add, and then you could watch the same movie with people from far away. I might try that with my family. That'd be kind of fun.
So I didn't know it was a Chrome extension. Do you know what the name is?
I think it's, Netflix Share, maybe. I'll look it up and I'll send it. I'll look it up right now and put it in the chat.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Would love to add that to our resources.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay, so on to our third tip for today.
All right. So tip number 3 is making digital choices. And I know we've already talked about really finding a balance between digital and non-digital. So, that's really being mindful of screen time. I felt that yesterday, between Zoom meetings and I felt like I was in front of my computer way more than normal, actually. So it was really a big wake up call for me that I need to have those times where I step away and do other things and walk my dogs. And so that's definitely important. Um, and then,
So as you're creating a schedule for your students or for your family, sometimes we're including things like open app time or explore X, Y, and Z. And so one of the resources that we highly recommend, as maybe even your own children are asking you if they can try certain apps out or even watch different movies, is to do some due diligence beforehand or as they're asking. And one of the resources you can do that with is Common Sense.
yes, so Common Sense, they have Common Sense Education, that's for educators, and then commonsensemedia.org, that's the resource for families. And if they have a lot of resources in response to COVID-19. Another thing that they have they have reviews for movies, for books, and for digital tools. And so let's see, so now I'm on the resource page, but actually if I go to their Common Sense, they have reviews for any of these things. So let's try and go to apps and games, app reviews, and you can search by age group and it'll give you a review, parent review, and some tips about these different apps. So this is a really great resource for parents to go to when they're looking, like if their child comes to them and asks them if they can play a certain game or something that they have out there, or even watch a movie. So actually for those books, movies, games. So this is a great resource for parents.
We will be doing a specific webinar on digital citizenship on Friday. So stay tuned for more ideas on how to stay healthy and safe with your digital choices.
Yeah. And then when we're thinking about professional learning, we're thinking that, this is a time where teachers might want to take the time to learn about using technology tools, make choices about what they might want to use with their students so that they can be prepared when something like this happens and you have to do some distance learning. So we put Common Sense Education on there as a resource for teachers so that they can go to their review page and take a look at different kinds of tools. So you can do a search for different tools that are out there. And then here, let me just type in a tool. And then when you find a tool, of course it's not loading, it'll give you a review, Common Sense review, what teachers are saying about it. It gives you an overview. And then you can go through and dig a little bit deeper if it looks like a tool that you might be interested in, because now that we're home, you might have some time to start learning about these digital tools that you might want to start using in your classroom. So, should we open it up for our very last question?
Yes, our last question of the day. What is your next step?
Oops, sorry.
Well, my next step is to find a way for me to be creative every single day, whether it's drawing or maybe I have to create something so Jenna can cut it out in the Cricut. But my goal is to be creative every day.
I like that, Abby. That's awesome. I still need to make an official, well, I don't have to make an official schedule, but I've been wanting to make a schedule for myself. So now that I see some good templates and ideas for that, I can do that. So thank you for sharing that.
And for me, I guess I've gotten so busy that I have put down my musical instruments for a while. So I definitely want to pick up my ukulele and start watching some YouTube videos and learning some new songs and playing music, and then also being creative with my new Cricut that I should be getting today. So I'm excited about that.
I see here in the chat a common theme of wanting to be intentional in connecting with the people in our lives that we care about, especially those far away. It's an excellent tip. Ooh, new learning. Sophia is going to learn a new concerto. Awesome. I want to hear her play. That's exciting. Well, thank you for those of you who had the opportunity to pop in today. If you want the notes, they're going to follow this pattern always, a CCOE vlog. This is our first episode, so it's number 1, and notes after the bit.ly. And we will continue to add resources there as it pertains to creating a schedule. And our next webinar vlog is tomorrow with the 2 of us again.
Yeah, so that one is staying connected to your students and families. And we'll be here at the same time. And we should put the Zoom link in this slide presentation, but we will be sharing out that Zoom link as well.
And that concludes We're going to stop recording here.